Or this guy is not in it.
That's me, ma'am. I don't know if you can hear me.
Mine says it's now streaming.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh,
Are
Yeah,
you
I'll
able to hear me?
I'll call to order the Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 Planning Commission agenda. Please take the roll of our members.
Mayor Safarian,
I'm here.
Mr. Olive,
Present.
Mr. Vrieslar,
Here.
Chairman Winkowski.
Here, thank you. Our first matter is the approval of the April 21st, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
I make a motion without objection that the minutes are passed.
I will second, and those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved and the meeting minutes from April 21st, 2020 are approved. The only matter before us today is the SUE 167-20 special use in an R2 zone district for the purpose of a personal storage building on the property described as parcel numbers 44-68001 and 44-68004. The applicant is Martin Zach. The locations are 2030 Lakeview Avenue and 2034 Lakeview Avenue. Not sure who's starting the process, but I will, it looks like Mark maybe. Or Jim, you're there. Now I see Jim.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can now.
Can you hear me? Okay. This is essentially wanting to put a accessory building, storage building across from his house that borders on the lake. I believe the storage building is going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Marty, but it's 60 by 60, is that correct?
Yes, it is. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This accessory storage building is not going to be related to any house over there. It's going to be freestanding and it's going to be for personal storage. Other than that, if there's anything I can answer, I will. Okay.
May I say something, sir? May I say something, sir?
Yes, yes. Mr. Zach?
Yeah. The house that we live in is located on the water side of the street. And even though the garage is being described as a freestanding garage, I'm taking the idea as like driving through Catawba, Port Clinton, areas like that. There are a lot of houses that are situated on the water, and then they've allowed them to build a garage across the street. And this garage would be built and look similar to the house, if you will, as far as it would be a stick-built structure. The siding would match the house across the street. So it would have some congruence there as far as aesthetics go. I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that it doesn't just look like an odd building sitting somewhere on a street that has no connection to anything. I hope I'm clear on that.
Yeah, any questions of Mr. Zach by the committee?
Well, my name's William Owsley. I am one of the owners of the property next door to him, or to the property of where he's wanting to put the shed at. My concern is that it's a residential area and not necessary. Well, there's no commercial buildings in that area at all.
And I'd like to be clear that this is not a commercial building. It is a garage for my own personal use.
Well, you have an attached garage for your personal use on your property, correct?
I do have a garage with my home, yes.
Yeah. I guess my concern is possible depreciation of value of property in the area. I know that maybe as long as you own the property, that you may take care of the storage unit. But if it's sold down this road or whatever, then my concern is storing things outside and, all kinds of things being outside the, the shed area and depreciating the value of the property. That's my primary concern.
I certainly, it's a valid concern. And the thing with building the garage now, it actually is doing the opposite of what your concern is. It's actually, in my opinion, helping clean up the street. It would put trailers, boats, anything of that nature that are utilized, it would put them inside of a new structure. As to what happens in the future, obviously, I really can't answer to that. But for the immediate effect on the street, I actually think it would enhance it. But that's, again, obviously a personal opinion of mine.
Well, you're saying that primarily everything on that property that you plan on putting on there would more than likely be stored inside the structure of the building?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Gilmore, here's my question.
Mr. Chairman, can I intervene here just a minute?
Yes, you may.
And I want to go from an administrative standpoint when we were doing and we're looking at this parcel, although the applicant has said it's something that matches the existing house that's across the street. We couldn't really look at it completely that way because we were looking at it as a standalone building without a residence on it, which wouldn't traditionally be permitted. But then we looked at all the property there on the non-lakeside of the road, and many of the buildings are older structure, kind of need a lot of repair.
Right.
That what would be the best use of that land there, and the belief that someone would actually build residential structures there to live in, probably not going to happen. So we were looking at what would be the best use to clean up the area, and if people were to build new structures that may be garages, even though they weren't connected to residents, it would be more likely improvement to the area than if we didn't allow it. There would be a lot of the shack looking structure
Tell them we
falling
because of the size.
in dire need of repair. So we're looking at just this structure because we believe that this happens. There'll be others that will wish to do a similar thing to build. The belief is new garages would be better there than what currently is there, which is a lot of ruins. So that's what we were looking at when we didn't have an objection administratively to this type of use for that non-lakeside property.
May I interject something, sir?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
May I
Yes,
interject something, sir? In the last 7 years, we've torn down 3 structures on the street, attempting to get it, to clean it up per se. A lot of these structures were built about 100 years ago, and they were more of a summertime or a weekend use cottage type of structure. And if this garage were to be allowed over there's going to be another house that's going to be cleaned out, and the contents moved to that garage, and another one of those structures that is old and dilapidated is going to come down as well, making it the 4th one that would be torn down. So we're trying to move in the right direction as far as making it a lot nicer out there on Lakeview, if you will.
And that's what we recognized, not only to be happening there, but in all likelihood that if we permitted this and permitted it again and again for others there, it would better address cleaning up the area than doing nothing. or not. If we didn't permit this, I think you would see those structures just remain till they finally fell over.
Thank you. Mr. Gilmore, maybe you can address this for me. If we take these two lots, he certainly has the right to build a house on those two lots, correct?
That's correct.
But at this point, he's building what I'm only going to refer to because Mr. Zach referred to it as a garage. What is the difference between this being a garage and it being classified as a house in the zoning rules?
Well, one's obviously, one's for storage of things from the main structure as an accessory building. The other is a dwelling unit where you live. But with that being said, I think maybe if we're thinking about approving this, we should look at the size of it. If you were to build a house there, you would have to have a 30-foot rear yard. Now, maybe that's not appropriate in this zone, but Marty, and I'm sorry, I don't have the packet in front of me. How from the back property line, how many feet are you to the?
I on the site drawing, I put 3 feet from there, is my understanding. That was what a building had to be, 3 feet from the line.
Right.
With them being 280 or 40 by 80 lots,
Right.
and then combining it to be 80 by 80.
What I'm really trying to tell you, even if this house was located on the other side, this structure would be quite a bit larger than would be allowed in a normal residential area. I think it's 3,600 square feet, correct, Marty? Yeah. So that's just something to point out. Maybe it's appropriate. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out to you.
Yeah, I think what you're looking at is, and can you hear me?
Yes.
Sir.
Is if it were to be built on without us permitting it, just a garage standing by itself without a residence would not be permitted.
Okay.
That's the real difference here. We don't allow houses on lots in residential property. And I think if we use it as an example, in a subdivision, if someone bought a lot and said, well, I just want to build I want to buy an additional lot and put a garage there. I don't want to live there, but I like that area. I want to build a garage. Well, it kind of throws off the whole integrity of that neighborhood, or even perimeter growth areas, say on Pickle Road, Brown Road, or whatever. Somebody just buys a lot and just puts a garage out there. It is not permitted. And that's our code for any residential property anywhere in the city. But when you got property out there that is very unlikely to have a house erected in it, and it is falling into ruins, then you say, well, what would be the best use for that property there? Well, the most likely to get that property cleaned up would be to allow structures such as this, and our hope is if this goes through and this is built, that others will do the same thing, and lo and behold, we might find all those somewhat falling apart structures being torn down and replaced with new garages.
Okay, I have
Like
a
your-
question. Marty, how many properties on that road do you own?
I have 9 houses and 24 lots.
On that road on
Well-
Lakeview?
1.5 lots goes around the corner, and it is technically on my taxes on Verdun. But between that 1.5 lots and then Lakeview, there's 9 houses, one of which will be torn down if I can build this garage. So I'd be down to 8 houses, and there's 24 lots.
Okay. The other question that I would have is if Martin was to sell the property, his house, would he be obligated to sell the property across the street as an attachment? Or then could somebody buy that separately? And then, kind of like the gentleman said, then we would have a garage standing or a building standing where the person doesn't live in the area.
The way it has been presented, that would be possible. Yes, the house and the new garage
Would be
do not,
separate.
they're totally separate units.
Yeah, yeah. See, the way Martin saw, I mean, his house is extremely nice. And we just bought this property recently. We own several properties, but we just bought this one here, I think, last year. And we're in the process of cleaning it up to, to get it up to where it should be. I know Martin just tore, which I've never seen before, an attached garage to say his section down, and we've got to get over there to repair what he, what's left of it. I do know that his house is extremely, it's a nice home. It is for the neighborhood. And if he built it to complement his house, it would probably be a nice structure there. It's just, I'm concerned about if if it was attached to where if he sold that property, it had to go, it had to go along with the selling of the house. But where it could be sold, where it's two separate entities, then you kind of put back in a position that you could have a structure, a garage or a shed on a piece of property, and no one, living there or being there.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Wallace, it appears as though you are here. Do you have a comment for the panel? You need to unmute.
They can just hold the space bar in on their computer to talk. Just hold
I
it in.
unmuted them. Oh, now they're muted again. Hang on. There we go.
Hello?
Okay,
can
Mr.
you
and
hear me
Mrs.
now?
Wallace, do you have a comment?
Yes. As this other gentleman has been speaking, I agree that that is such a large building to be put on that lot. I mean, there's only a few feet on either side, and that is a huge structure for that neighborhood. There are no other buildings. Maybe his house is that big, but there are no other buildings on that whole lot. And I'm not so concerned about him having a storage building there, but I think my husband and I agree that size is just out of proportion with what is in that neighborhood. I don't think you need to take away from the smaller, older structures. We live in a 150-year-old house, and I'm not dunning anybody for not being able to maybe redo their whole house like you'd like to have every neighborhood be, but we just feel that that's too big of a building for that lot.
If he wanted to build something on that lot size, we would have no objection to it as long as he's build it within the current stipulations of setbacks. So he wouldn't be encroaching with a 3 foot off the back and on the front and the sides. It would be like shoulder to shoulder, front to back. And with this COVID ID, it's like, at least give me 6 foot, so within a certain limits that are already defined, you can build something over there. But on the other hand, you're supposed to have a house on that property in order to build a garage. And then if he has 20 some lots there, I'm sure he can find one with a house on it that he can build a garage on.
May I
See,
interject?
go ahead, Mark.
I had originally put in for a variance to attach to that house, but that small house next door is a rental property. And it was viewed as I was trying to do something underhanded as far as attaching it to a rental property, but yet use the garage for my own personal use. So that's why I went for the special use permit, because I want it to be clear to everybody what I'm doing. I'm not trying to get something by or say that I own that little house, so I want to build a garage next to it, because it's not going to look anything like that house. It's going to match my home. Once this is, if it can be built, it's going to be very obvious when you come down that street that it belongs to that house across the street there. So the other idea of attaching it to a different house, it was considered, but I just wanted it clear from the get-go that that would be for my own personal use. I was not giving it to a rental property per se. And that's why I went the route that I'm going. If I get permission, then I know, great, it's above board. Everybody agreed on it. If I don't, then, obviously it just wasn't meant to be. But that idea was considered at first.
Marty,
See, the other thing-
how large is the house that this would be, that I don't want to say attached to, but this runs with, the house that you're talking about?
The one that I live in across the street,
Correct.
I don't know how many square foot our house is. I don't really know. We just had it built 7 years ago, and I can't tell you how many square feet it is.
I'd say that probably, looking at it, I'd say it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,400 to maybe 3,000 square feet. It's a big house. But it's a nice house that sits on the lake. The other thing that I would like to kind of mention to the board is, I don't know kind of how I feel about this. I feel both ways about it. But the other thing is that, let's say that you do allow this to happen, then let's say that you do allow this to happen, and then Martin moves and then someone else buys the structure, the storage area. You kind of set a precedence down to where if someone else wanted to do it that didn't want to live in the area or doesn't live in the area, that a building already exists and that you've already approved an existing building. So that's something that the board may want to consider down the road.
Well, let me throw this out, and this may very well go nowhere, or this may solve the issue. Marty and the neighbors, would you be in support of us approving this with two stipulations? One, that this garage be no larger than Marty's residence, which if it's 2,400 square feet, we would limit it to 2,400 square feet. If it's 2,600 square feet, we would limit it to 2,600 square feet, whatever that number may be. That would be one, it would be no larger than that. And two, that we would have the stipulation in there that this building could only be used for personal storage for that home. So that even if it's sold, that essentially ties it into what Bill is saying, that this garage and the house are going to be one and the same. That would be what I would consider would satisfy what Marty wants to do from the standpoint of building this garage as personal storage. And two, it would satisfy, maybe not fully, but to some of the concerns that the neighbors have. I don't know how everybody feels about that.
I personally would be more if the building was attached to his existing property to where it had to be sold as one entity, I would be more apt to agree with that. That way, it wouldn't be a separate entity to where someone in California could be owning it and just storing things there.
Well, and I don't think we can do that. That's, I agree with you. I don't think we can do that, but if we can put the stipulation on there that can only use for storage for the person that owns that property, then that would satisfy that request without putting it down as a deed requirement, because we're
I
not
see.
we're not gonna require a deed requirement.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
That can never be guaranteed, and it could be sold at any time, and anyone, whoever, could purchase that and own that however they want and do whatever they want to with it whenever they want.
Well, if you put what the other member was saying in, then wouldn't it be the only person that could use it would be the person living in that house?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Please tell me where there is a guideline to hold you to that.
The
I'm sorry?
guideline would be bringing them in and removing the SUE. Then they couldn't use it. I'm looking for an alternative here. I think Bill's idea is good. If that's something that Marty's willing to work with, and we can satisfy this, if he's told us that he's gonna use this for his own personal storage. Basically, what I'm saying is, okay, put your money where your mouth is. If that's what it's gonna be, then that's what it's gonna be.
Can I interject?
That's a little odd. That's quite odd to put that in language as stipulations or conditions. How fast is it pertinent that it's passed today or at next month's meeting? Because I would like to go over some language with the possible connection to the other lot. If it's contingent on the other lot and that being connected in one path, that makes more sense than saying what you can store in it. We're not going to go in there and inspect what's in it, or if it's relatives stuff versus his own stuff that goes from that house. That's just kind of unusual. So I don't know if we could make a lot split to connect the two if they're not touching properties, but we may be able to do something. I would rather do something like that if you want to tie it to the house than just saying you can only store stuff from that house there.
And Mayor, I agree. I'd rather get it right than just get it done today.
So Marty, is it if we could come up with something that successfully ties, but we might not be able to do it till next month's June meeting, is that okay, or were you looking to start right now?
No, I could definitely, that garage is only going to be used for my personal use. I have no problem putting that in writing, however they would want to stipulate.
No, I mean, I understand. I'm more
I'm
saying,
in no rush for that, sir.
but the time parameters of it being passed at this month's meeting versus next month's meeting.
No, I want to do this properly, and I'm in no rush to get it done now. I just want it done properly where everybody is aware of what's going on, and it's acceptable. I really want to improve the street. I don't want to bring any negativity.
And we would certainly like to let other people put different buildings like what you are doing there, and if it's the desire from the area to say that, well, you put the garage there, but you should have a house in that area. I believe we can come up with something that addresses that, because we do want to revisit this again. We hope other people will do the same thing and put new structures across the street there. And that's what our look was when we considered it administratively, knowing what is a good use for that land. And we felt that this may be one of the better uses, because the cost of building a residential structure, and I went out there and looked at that property. I don't know that people would want to buy a bunch of that property there and build a new house there where you're building that garage. I just don't see people doing that. So it'll set as the status quo unless we allow something like this to take place. But I can see where people could have a concern. I myself live nowhere around there. I buy up a bunch of that property because I can get it reasonable, and I put my storage unit there and haul all my stuff over there and then go home and live in my house. I understand why somebody might not want people doing that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Roman,
I guess in terms of developing anything over there, I think being across the street from the main home is also kind of odd in terms of utilities and drainage and connecting things. I mean, Marty, I don't know if it's possible, but I mean, if it was on at least the same side of the street adjacent to the home, it would be the best. Drainage, you'd probably have to go across the road just to get to the lake to drain the property. That would be an expense. I don't know if you'd want water service to that garage, but you know, would that require a whole nother meter separate from the home and things like that? I don't know if it's possible, but being on the same side of the road as the home would be the ideal. I just don't know if that's possible. That's all.
It's Paul, it's not possible.
No, there's.
Okay.
Not possible.
Okay.
It's over there, and there's so much waterfront property, and then there's the leftovers. That's the leftovers. We're trying to find something to do with that.
Okay.
Mayor, is it your recommendation that we continue this to next month and see if we can work it out?
It appears to the applicant that's not, that he's okay with that, and we will. I'll talk to Melissa and Mike Beasley, and we'll see if there's language exists to connect, to have a tool to connect that house to that lot across the street.
Okay.
We may want to do that with all of those lots in that area if somebody, I mean.
Right. That's why if we do this, though, like I said, we would hope to see others do a similar thing, and in the end, that area is cleaned up.
I do have one question. If we postpone it until next month, would we use, if we're still doing this through video, would we use the same numbers to get back?
No, there'll
to the
be new.
meeting?
There's new numbers each time.
Okay, would you be mailing out?
Yes,
Okay, okay.
it is possible.
Mr.
But
Chairman, I have one question for Marty, please.
Mr. Olive?
Marty, what's the reason why this garage isn't centered on the lot?
I guess leave for my thinking was to be, this sounds goofy. My wife likes the tree that's there, so it would be in the middle of the driveway. Obviously a tree, no, I'm not trying to be facetious. The tree can be cut down. But it would leave a small yard for that rental property. It leaves 17 feet between the rental property and that garage itself. There wasn't, I mean, certainly requesting permission for that, taking a tree down. None of this hinges on having that tree remain there. And
So you say on the right side of the building, you would have 17 feet or what, 19 feet between the property?
Correct. And then
And on the left side, the other side of the property, on the north side of the building, how many would you have between properties there?
There was a 4-foot space in between that garage that still remains there, and then where the I saw that he had the property lines surveyed.
Correct.
My line actually goes a little bit over where that garage is, but that would come off of those surveyed lines, obviously 4 feet, and that's where the garage would be built. And as far as going to the back of the property line, there's a 6-foot privacy fence back there. So I don't know what advantage there would be to having a yard back there per se, because there's a 6-foot privacy fence that whoever bought the house behind us erected that along those 2 lot lines.
Yeah, because I was just concerned that the 16-foot space on the right side couldn't be used for like an RV parking or something, or boats on the outside.
To be clear with you, sir, and I hope I didn't cut you off. I'm unfamiliar with the Zoom thing. The structure, the size of it, and with the doors that I'm requesting be put on there, the whole concept is for the RV to go inside, so it's not sitting in a yard. The concept is for the boat and the whatever amenity, toys you have, whatever you want to call them, the kayaks, the jet skis, everything goes inside so it looks neat and it's orderly. And so nothing would be sitting outside or alongside of it.
So if we put a stipulation that no outside storage would be allowed, you'd be acceptable to that?
Definitely.
Okay.
I have
The
a
other
question.
thing I don't know is, Mark, did I understand you right that it would be 4 feet from the existing garage, the garage that's there, to the building?
Yeah,
Is
and
that-
4 feet would get. Are you the gentleman that owns the house that is rented out?
Yes, I'm one of them. There's 2 of us, but I'm one.
Right. I raised 2 kids in that house years ago. So anyway,
Okay.
that driveway is very, very tiny. It's very small.
Correct.
And it's difficult for people to fit in there. So
Correct.
if the garage on our side is 4 feet away, even though that portion of that driveway is legally mine, you could allow people that rent your house to park in that drive.
Okay. The only concern that I would have is the other concern I would have with Martin say that is with the buildings so close together, 4 feet apart, would be if there was a fire or something. They could basically jump from one building to the next.
But it's better than before when they were attached.
Well, yeah, but this is a new structure that's
I
going.
appreciate your concern. I'm not making light of it.
No.
You know, as far as 4 feet away, eliminating the 16 feet on the other side, that all to me is debatable. I just want to be able to have a garage across there that matches my home, that helps clean up the street. That's my end goal.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What is the height of the side walls of this building?
I do not have a print made yet because I didn't know if I was getting permission for it to be built. So I do not have a print made for it.
I have a note that says their side walls are going to be 14 feet high. Is that correct?
I believe that's what the contractor told me, for it to allow to be, the center door is going to be 14 feet and the 2 side doors would be 12 feet. So I believe he said that structurally.
People behind you have a 6-foot privacy fence. Your side wall is going to be 8 foot over the top of that privacy fence, plus your roof.
Correct.
There's quite a blockage of view, along with the 3-foot offset. I think what are the rules of how far you have to be off the back of the property?
My understanding was if you are building a garage, that it's 3 feet off the lot line. But again, I'm applying for a special use permit because this isn't really fitting into those, as far as that's my understanding of it. I'm pretty new to all of this.
We don't care for that.
See, Marty, the problem, a hallway is normally a hallway in your house, it's about 3 foot wide. I mean, you're looking at 4 foot, which there isn't much difference of that between
That's
one
right.
building to the next.
Jump in.
If they were to give me permission for this building and they stipulate that they would like to have the garage moved over further, I certainly, my plans don't rest on it has to be 4 feet from your from your garage. I mean, that's
Okay.
not,
He's gonna have 3 garage doors.
Well, it's not 4 feet from the garage, it's 4 feet from the lot line.
Well, the garage,
garage
the
is.
existing garage is pretty much right against the lot line.
Okay,
Over it by about a foot. Those garages in the old days, they were made for 2 separate homes, but they were
Right.
one garage connected. There's only one of those left on the street.
Yeah, that's unusual, but yeah, you're right.
Excuse me, I don't know how many of the people that are in this Zoom meeting happen to be residents that are on the meeting right now. I would be curious as to what they have to say about their feelings about the size of the building. Are all of you that are on this meeting basically representatives of Oregon, other than the Bill and Marty and ourselves? I don't know. It'd just be interesting to know who is having input at this particular Zoom meeting.
well, the other person would be Tom. If you can see at the bottom, on the bottom is Tommy's iPhone. I believe that's Tom. And Tom is also a
Correct.
resident in that area.
That is correct.
I
Um,
would, I'd
can I-
just be interested in knowing what their opinion is of the size of the building mainly. I don't have a problem with. the
Anybody hear
building.
me?
Yep.
Yeah,
I can be heard?
yeah.
All right, the meeting started out as Catawba and Marblehead. Well, they have different zoning out there. Also similar to Pickle Road, Corduroy Road, and most of the residents that build property and want something like this, they build a structure next to the building. And the bottom line is it comes into the play of what is the zoning in this neighborhood? And the zoning is you cannot build a structure on a vacant lot, which I thought I just heard that the house would be torn down. So that makes it a structure on a vacant lot. So now you've superseded by building it first. So you get by with doing that and then tearing down the residence.
Let me stop you there.
Or-
That's true.
Something about,
That's not true.
what?
If you didn't have a special use, you couldn't build a new structure, then tear the garage down. That still would not be permitted. The special use gives you the ability to build the garage without a resident there. The fact that the house is there and then tore down later, that still would not be permitted use. You couldn't do that and then tear the house down.
The Zoom platform
Special use
is
is
a
exactly
difficult one to get
special.
people.
And believe me,
Oh, good.
aren't you,
That's
go ahead,
another
Mike
thing.
Safarian.
The
Everybody's
structure,
stepping on me. Go ahead, Mike Safarian.
well, I was just trying to correct something you said. He's building the garage with a house on it, then tearing the house down. That has no relevance. The house being torn down before, during, or after. The special use just affords the person that ability to construct a garage without a resident being there.
And to be clear, sir, I'm not tearing that house down. I have a house on the other side of the street that's going to be torn down, not the one that is going to be adjacent to the garage. I don't want to mislead anybody.
Yeah, and Marty, the building that was on there, you've already tore that down.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of confused why that was even part of the discussion if it was across the street from that. Furthermore, the structure that is existing on the present parcel is what is being addressed for, maybe it's the next meeting, future for building that would be much higher than that, and you are not by zoning allowed to do that.
That's why I'm applying for the special use permit. It's not connected to
Also,
that.
if he gets a special use permit, Tommy, the whole other rules.
Okay, well, this is, Marty, I mean, no disrespect for you, but this is totally different than anything else that is in Westmore Beach Extension. And
Definitely.
I've built property, and I own half of the one side of Verdun Street, and I was very, very limited on what I could do to build at my residence.
Yeah.
So everything that's being, every single thing, and I have not heard a whole lot of promising comments. And as far as attaching this to the parcel across the street, I know for a fact that's not possible. Nothing can be done about when the property is sold, what the next resident does with it, everything that cannot be done. It's not possible. I'm talking about being attached across the street.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah, the only thing I heard what.
Anybody hear me?
I heard what the mayor said, and I think the only thing I can do is give a verbal assurance. He said he wants to extend this out for another month to see if there was a way that they could have those connected. I'm certainly willing to wait for that. I'm in no rush for this. I just want it done properly. And
You just don't have a picture on here.
I agree. I agree with one thing. You cannot make a split and connect the two parcels that are not connected. However, the authority of conditions on a special use, there are quite a few. There's a lot of latitude on conditions. That's what I would check with our law director and see what conditions are possible or not possible to say to make some condition or condition that it is reflected on that structure across the street. And I don't know. I honestly don't know if a condition placed on the special use to another parcel, but that's what I can surely find that answer out. We've put a lot of conditions on different things. Sometimes we're able to do things, sometimes we're not. But that's by going to the next meeting next month, I will have that answer.
Could I please say another thing? I'm concerned about the fact that under this type of a meeting, Zoom, which is very new to a lot of people that may have gotten notices have not been able to attend this meeting because they're not savvy with getting on Zoom. I think that is a detriment to really getting a good feel of what the neighbors might have to say. I mean, it is their responsibility to try to get connected and be at this meeting. But I agree that another month or more would be a good idea so that maybe other people would get up to speed, so to speak, on the new technology and getting on a Zoom meeting as opposed to just letting things roll because they're unsure of how to do this new system. So that's about all I have to say, other than my husband and I are not in favor of the size of the building. We do not feel it needs a whole lot of stipulations for the use or going with the other property or whatever, but we just think that that size of a building in that neighborhood is totally, out of proportion to the other homes there. I don't really want to see all those little cottages torn down and have huge storage buildings lining that street. So that's our opinion. And obviously if my husband and I and Tom are the only ones really that are neighbors, I think it would do us well to possibly put off some of this until next month when more people can digest what we've discussed, since a lot of us didn't even know what the sizes were going to be and didn't realize how it might impact our yard or the next door neighbor's yard or the neighborhood in general. So that's really all I think my husband and I have to say about it. And we'll be looking forward to trying to be at the meeting, the next scheduled meeting, to discuss it further and see what has developed.
Well, Mayor, thank you. I think the one thing that's clear, the one thing that we all agree on is that 30 days may do us some good.
Hey.
With that in mind, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, and it is, we don't make any rash plans on whether this will be a Zoom meeting or in the building, because things change. It seems like week to week, month to month, sometimes hour to hour. So it is possible we're back in the building next in June meeting. It's possible we're right back here on this Zoom, what we're permitted to do, and
They mentioned it, but
can't say we'll make those judgment calls.
So Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we suspend the open hearing until the next meeting, which is in June.
No, not suspend. You continue the public.
We continue the public hearing. If I can get a second on that.
Hey, Mike, can everybody hear me? I get a chance to speak yet. I'm actually the neighbor that's directly behind him. That's where he's gonna be building on Verdun Street. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have a problem with the size of it myself and how close it's gonna be to my fence line. I want to own the 6-foot privacy fence that's gonna be on the back of this garage. And I just think it's gonna be an eyesore being the size of it. I mean, I walk out my back door, I'm just gonna see the back of this big garage. And I'm currently closing on actually the house next door as well. And it's just, it's gonna be an eyesore seeing the back of this big garage. And I disagree with some of the stuff you guys are saying about the block with all the old houses. There is people buying houses out here and redoing these old houses. I'm actually one of them. I bought this house 7 years ago. It was redone, gutted from the studs up. And I disagree when he said there's a bunch of old houses that need tore down. There's actually a lot of nice little houses out here. And as far as that goes, like I said, it's just the size of it and how close it's going to be to my fence line. It's not going to be a pretty sight. It's going to be pretty for him on his side of the street, but as far as all the other neighbors, it's going to be a big eyesore.
Well, that'll also come up in 30 days, but I think if I will make the motion to continue the public hearing 30 days from now at the next scheduled meeting. I believe I need a second.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Hearing all in favor and none opposed, we are going to continue the public hearing until the June Planning Commission meeting, and until that point in time, we are suspended.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
all.